Welcome to a special edition of the Gruely True Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I'd like to welcome to the show a man you've heard before if you've listened to us, the CEO and president or founder of Replinishing Care and Technologies, James Commerford. How you doing, James?
I'm doing very well, Mike. Nice to be here again today.
Yeah, I know before we talked a little bit about the PEMF machine and all the great things it does, and today you're introducing as a distributor a new partner. You want to tell us a little bit about the Path of Purity?
Absolutely. To go to your lead-in, I, through a wonderful combination of fate and divine providence, I'll say, have had the opportunity to connect some time ago with a group of people who were very interested in improving health options and outcomes for people, and have set out to create what we believe is a breakthrough phytocannabinoid-rich hemp oil CBD called Path of Purity.
That's a mouthful, James.
Yeah, it took me a while to kind of make sure I was hitting all the right terms going through there. But as much as that sounds kind of complicated, it really isn't very complicated at all. We live in a society right now where the term CBD has grown rapidly in recognition and in the number of product options that are available to people. And the Path to Purity product is one that has been assembled based upon considerable study of available research, understanding what actually would make a CBD product kind of work the best, if you will, and putting those various pieces together into something that I'm proud to say that I've had the opportunity to both use and start to work with. I've been using it for a number of months, and I'll talk a little bit about what I've already seen with me. But we actually started to put the word out in terms of launching the product just around July 4th. And we're actually at a point right now where we are looking to discuss the possibility of working with us with professional health, wellness, and fitness practitioners so that they can put this product in the hands of the patients, clients, and athletes that rely on them for care and guidance.
Yeah, and the thing I love about this is it's not an MLM. And I can't stress that enough, and everybody knows if you've been on the internet what MLM is, because your friends will try to get you involved in it. This is not, and I think this really sets it apart from a lot of other things here on the internet.
Well, I want to be really careful in how I respond to that because, quite frankly, there's a number of products that I use in my replenishing care model that are part of MLMs, and that's the only way that that they can be bought, and it doesn't reflect in any way on the quality of the product or the people who get involved with them. But what we've decided, or I should say what the manufacturer has decided in this particular case, is we believe the product is at a level that, quite frankly, it should be in the hands of professional practitioners coming out of the gates and in the foreseeable future. And, part of the reason for that is, and I had a wonderful friend of mine who's a naturopath who kind of said he hates to recommend products to his patients that they can get from a neighbor or somebody they meet in a grocery store. And again, there's no disrespect in that. It's just that we really want to concentrate on the professional level, and especially as we're rolling this product out, ensure that what gets said about the product is 100% transparent, 100% accurate, and those kinds of things. So it is indeed a non-multi-level product distribution, and that is why we are delighted to have an opportunity to be on today and get the word out to some practitioners who may be listening, who may be considering adding CBD to what they do with the people who rely on them, Maybe they're using one and not getting 100% of the results they'd like to get, or maybe it's kind of a curiosity just to see if there's something new that they might want to similarly integrate into what they're doing. So, that's where we are right now.
All right, so how does passive purity contribute to health and athletic performance?
Well, one of the most important things that anybody listening today needs to take away from this is understanding they have a system called endocannabinoid. And that's a fancy long term. But effectively, the endocannabinoid system is one of your body's most powerful natural healing systems and vitality systems, if you want to think of it that way. Specifically, what it actually is a system that helps us stay in homeostasis. And to do that, it regulates and manages such things as mood, cognition, memory, motor coordination and motor control, appetite, pain perception, immune response, temperature, reproduction, sleep, and bone development, which is a very long list of just about everything that we need to maintain to be, as healthy as we can possibly be, perform at the top of our athletic ability, and otherwise position ourselves to, look forward to many, many years ahead. Essentially, what the endocannabinoid system consists of is the most specialized and complex signaling and neurotransmitter network in our bodies. And literally, it works through a set of receptors that are called CB1 and CB2 that are in our brain, our nervous system, connective tissues, glands, organs, the kidneys, the heart, the liver, pretty much every part of the body that you could list off. We have CB1, CB2 receptors, one or the other, and both in a couple of places. But basically, these are all set up to help our body stay as homeostatic as it possibly can, which is a fancy way of saying we want to maintain a stable as possible internal environment in the face of, for many of us, constantly changing and sometimes very stressful external environments.
All right, now
so what?
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that we could tie that in. You said that you used it yourself. Just explain to people listening, what has it done for you?
Well, what I have loved about it, and I mean, if anybody heard any of the previous shows that we've done, you'd know that when I was about 40, I contracted Guillain-Barré syndrome, was literally in a wheelchair, and at one point couldn't fall, and I stressed fall out of a baseball catcher's position. I went on to make a remarkable recovery from that. I even ran a marathon 9 months later, and pretty much as a result of something awful happening to me, or what you would generally regard as something awful happening, it put me on a path over into cellular health. So when I say what I'm about to say, I hope people will understand the perspective that I'm somebody who at 62 now is living and enjoying what I call ascending fitness as the result of having some great technologies like PEMF, enhanced EWAT featuring altitude contrast, pelvic correction, and a whole list of them that are just too many to get into. But I started using Path of Purity back in about March as the result of some early samples. And for me, Mike, what it has done, I'll just run down through here very quickly. What I had noticed back in the spring of this year was my left shin was itchy all the time. And, to the point of just being annoying. So one day I actually Googled it to see what that might be. And it seems that men my age, early 60s, perhaps even earlier in some cases, start to develop microcirculation issues in their shins. And one of the telltale signs will be loss of hair in that area, which when I looked at it, I noticed was completely gone at that point in time. And I'd either not noticed it, or if I had, basically wrote it off to wearing running pants that had rubbed against the hair on my legs, and it basically, caused a loss through friction. So anyway, I start taking Path of Purity, and as things would have us, very shortly after that, I the itching stopped and the hair grew back in. And I thought that was pretty impressive for, that kind of a result in a 62-year-old, even one who describes himself as experiencing ascending fitness. The next thing I noticed, I've been, I do a lot of free weights. I'm kind of one of these people who works out every morning, and it doesn't mean I'm super disciplined. It means it's become something that's become part of my life as a way of dealing with anxiety, frankly. Something else I didn't fully appreciate until a number of years ago. But anyway, in the course of lifting free weights over my head, fairly light ones, but doing a lot of them, my left shoulder got to a point where it was kind of cracking, and there was some discomfort and, I guess, inflammation there. Well, lo and behold, Path of Purity, after taking that for a little while, seemed to calm that down as well. And, I was doing normal workouts shortly after that, did one this morning, lifting, 20, 30 pound stuff over my head. Again, not huge weights, but, enough that you'd notice if something hurts. The other thing that happened very similar to what went on in my shoulder was both knees. And I estimate I've run 30,000 miles in my life. And again, not discipline. It was my way of coping with anxiety when I was about 23. So I had a long period of time where I literally ran every day, some days 2 and 3 times, as a way of getting through the day, quite frankly. And even after Guillain-Barré, after getting out of hospital, I was out walking the next day, literally after getting out of hospital with Guillain-Barré in the middle of the winter because I had to. Anyway, to come back to the main story here, after taking Path of Purity, my knees that had been acting a little bit like my shoulder and kind of clicking and discomfort went back to not having any of that there anymore, and I'm back out running in the morning without having any thought whatsoever about whether there's going to be pain and discomfort. The final one, because I know this is getting a little long in the tooth perhaps, was we've had a heat wave. I know that you've had it probably as well.
Yep.
I was 2 weeks ago in a sport coat that I only had on because I was going to a business meeting over a golf shirt. But anyway, I wanted to sort of dress up a little bit. Somewhere in the course of being out after the meeting, it occurred to me that I was the only person in sweltering heat, 95 degrees or so, wearing a sport coat and completely comfortable. CBDs, or the Endocannabinoid System, I should say, controls temperature. I was walking around cool as a cucumber, and people in shorts and T-shirts were kind of fanning themselves, trying to deal with the heat. So that's what it did for a 62-year-old weekend warrior who's gotten past Guillain-Barré and a bunch of other things over the years. And it's just absolutely, I want to say it astonished me. I kind of, it's always gratifying when you expect something to work, and it really does. But it actually surpassed my expectations. And, to go back to the anxiety, I was out with my youngest daughter a little while ago driving down the road, and I literally said to her right out of the blue, I don't think I've ever felt this well in my life. And, again, it was a tribute to having Path of Purity in my system.
All right. Now, how would someone go about getting Path of Purity if they were interested?
Well, at this point in time, what we're looking to do is to have professional health, wellness, and fitness professionals reach out, or practitioners reach out to us and begin to work with us. They would become affiliates working with me. In fact, they so choose to do that. And they would then be able to order the product and, provide it directly to their patients, clients, and athletes. So if somebody is hearing this and you're not actually a practitioner, I might encourage you to ask the practitioners that you do rely on to either listen to this message or check out our site. And to go back to the mouthful at the beginning of this, the website might sound like a mouthful, but there's a reason for every word or letter you're going to hear. It is www.path,
POP, Replinishing, Replenishing, PCR, Paul Charles Richard, hyphen CBD, CharlesBobDavis.com. So the short version of that is POP, Replenishing, PCR-CBD.com. If you do that, you'll learn all about the product. We also tried to put some information together there as a beginning point for people to do their own research. You know, and that's really one of the things I love about this manufacturer and the people behind the product. We're going to do this very much on a very soft approach. It's going to be educational. We want people to, to understand about the endocannabinoid system, to understand how CBDs interface with that, to hopefully make a difference in how we're feeling and how our bodies are performing. And based upon that, then hopefully make a decision to try the product, and if after they like it and have the kind of results that I've seen, choose to get involved with us and make it available again to those who rely on them for care and guidance.
All right. So what is the best way, if you're a professional health or athletic training practitioner, what's the best way to get involved? The same website, or is there another process?
No, the same. The website would be the best way to go about it. If somebody is on your site and sees the banner up behind, you can probably click right there and go right to the site. I'm also very open to, having people, call me and chat about this, because I so believe in it. This is such a fit with, what I would describe as my personal life purpose of bringing cellular health technologies to people. And, I haven't been this excited about anything since I got my first pair of goalie pads when I was about 12. So, it's kind of nice to feel that way again. And, I'd certainly welcome the opportunity of chatting with people about us. We do have a bit of an introductory offer on right now that might be of some great interest to practitioners as well, to encourage them to try the product and, for themselves, maybe share it with some family members and, some people really close to them, to get that kind of feedback. So again, if you go on the site, you'll see a special introductory offer that's in place until the end of the month. So it's a little bit of a short window, but still time to make it happen for anybody that does hear this discussion and thinks it's something they would like to investigate.
Yeah, and I've tried it for a while. My family's tried it for a while. Everybody loves it. And the great thing about this is it's just a pill. You put it under your tongue, it dissolves, and that's all there is to it.
Well, thank you. Actually, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, one of the great things about Path of Purity, and I go back to the folks who designed this, figuring out how to make it work really well for people. First of all, it is phytocannabinoid rich, full spectrum. And if you know anything, or not, I mean it that way, but if people are familiar with CBDs, you will know that full spectrum extracts of all 110 plus cannabinoids produces the greatest therapeutic benefit, because the 110 plus compounds work synergistically in a sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts kind of way to produce an entourage effect. And it is that entourage effect that has the greatest therapeutic value. You mentioned it's in a tablet, and I really am glad you did, and thank you again for that. It is in a 50 milligram tablet that is put under the tongue, and the product is engineered with a special, and it's a one-of-a-kind dual release delivery system, or dual tier, I should say, release delivery system, meaning that of the 50 milligrams per tablet, 25 milligrams of the product will be released within the first 30 seconds, and the other 25 milligrams will be released approximately 3 to 6 hours later, when your body signals that it needs more. And that system is literally matched to the innate capacity of the CB1 and CB2 receptors to take in cannabinoids and produce a situation of greatest bioavailability and absorption. One of the things that people always wonder when there's anything related to CBDs is THC content. To be considered non-psychoactive, there has to be less than 0.3% THC, and in fact, any phytocannabinoid-rich full-spectrum CBD will actually have less than 0.3. Path of purity is actually less than 0.03 THC content, and that's basically 3 parts in 10,000. So anybody that's got a concern about psychoactive effects or things like that can rest assured that this product is not going to produce any kind of impairment. And finally, it has a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $150 for a 1,500 milligram bottle, again, 30 tablets. So that brings it down to about 10 cents a milligram, which is, I have not seen anything that matches that value. I don't pretend to have seen every other product out there, but I haven't seen anything else that's in the order of that 10 cents a milligram. So, all put together, it's an incredible, package in the form of a product. It's the reason we're calling it a breakthrough, and the reason, as I say, I'm so excited to be part of this and have the opportunity to share it with people and hopefully see them get improved health, wellness, and fitness outcomes, and help contribute to the great work that many of the professional practitioners who are listening to this are already doing.
Yeah, and I can say this from a personal perspective. My kids, my wife, we all use it, and it works better than any CBD product we've had. This is more than just CBD. This stuff really works well. I've given it to some family members who've all had good success with it on top of that. I highly recommend it for what that's worth. Did you want to go ahead.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask, specifically what you've seen with some different family members? I'd love that feedback myself.
Well, I'll tell you the big thing that I've found is both of my sons are on the CBD oil and my wife for anxiety. And it seems like they were already on CBD oil, so that CBD oil had taken care of that anxiety. But the one thing that we have noticed is my older son has a hard time sleeping. And since he started taking this, he's found it a lot easier to get to sleep. And then just on top of that, it's similar to the other CBDs, but better because of things like that. But what's even better is it's just a lot easier to get my teenage sons to stick a pill under their tongue than it is to take a dropper and drip stuff into their mouth that tastes like crap. Just for lack of a better term.
Totally. I mean, it's one of the things. It's very easy, to take a tablet. And I mean, I know there's different products out there with different delivery systems, but this is designed for very easy and discreet, intake. So literally, it's about the size of an aspirin. You put it under your tongue, and you're good to go.
Yeah. And like I said, I highly recommend it. And did you want to give out a phone number or anything people can reach also?
Yeah, I mean, my personal number is 647-289-3791. I do a lot of publishing on LinkedIn and those kind of things. So I tend to hand that out there. And, I'll look forward to anybody that wants to, figure out how they might learn more about this or start to factor it into what they're doing to help others.
All right, James, sounds good. And I think you've nailed it again. And if you haven't checked out his PEMF machine, you can go back and check out our old show with James from, I think that was a month or so ago. But that machine's really worth looking at, too. The whole Replinishing Care line is great. And the Path of Purity just makes it that much better, James. So I want to thank you for coming in again today.
My pleasure, Mike. Thanks for having me, and thanks to anybody who's listening to this, and all the best.
All right, guys. I want to remind you can hear all of our shows now on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Basically, anywhere you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for James Commerford, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.